Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Sound Good Podcast, your one-stop shop for music news and shitty reviews. I'm your host, Michael.
I'm scared of women.
And it has been
1,117 days since Brian Posehn unfairly blocked Michael on Twitter.
Unfairly. So, with
unjustly.
Unfairly and unjustly.
For no reason.
100%. All right.
I'm not scared of him.
So with that out of the way, God, dude. Oh, man. We just butchered the hell out of this intro. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Who cares? Who cares? Fuck it. We'll do it live.
I'm a mustache-twirling villain, and I derailed this train immediately.
Yes, you did. Okay. On today's episode, we're going to talk about a couple poppy albums. One from Kero Bonito and the other one from Tilian Pearson. But before we do that, we're going to do the usual and just give you some music news.
Dad news.
So to start off, Micah, would you like to go first or do you want me to?
I'll go first.
All right, have at it, bud.
I have a few I can just blitz through because they're just kind of like, okay, cool, hi. That's news.
Cool, yeah.
It was announced a little while ago in late November. I just wanted to bring it up because I love it. That Astronoid announced a new album. And it's going to be their second ever album. It'll be self-titled. They put out a video and a single called I Dream in Lines. That's going to come out February 1st on Blood Music.
What kind of music is that? Astronoid.
So Astronoid is essentially really good Death Heaven.
Oh, okay.
You would go check out the I Dream in Lines single. It's really good. My only problem is kind of similar to Death Heaven where the bass is just a little too high in the mix.
Oh, okay.
But
sure.
But then again, since the bass is so high, there's some moments where there's only double bass that it's amazing. But when it's not that moment, everything else kind of gets drowned out. And it's poopy.
Awesome.
Thank You Scientists are recording a new album. We're excited for that. That'll be the third full album.
Yeah.
Zero info on that. And then Church Girls, a band that we have talked about in the past. We talked about their Home EP, right?
Yeah. I believe so. Yeah.
It was called Home.
Yeah.
Yeah, they announced a new EP called Cycles. They put out a song called Patience, and it's going to come out on Chatterbot Records like the previous EP on January 25th, 2019.
Exciting. January 25th. That's not too far away. That's a lot closer than any of the announcements I have here.
Rivers of Nihil also announced a tour that I am beyond stoked about, and I will be checking them out because they're touring with Entheos that I enjoy seeing live, and then Conjurer and Wolf King are bands that I don't know, but they're opening and they're cool.
Is that probably. Was that just an entire North American tour, or was that just a United States tour? I can't
have
remember
no idea.
either. I know it said something about North America, but I feel like there was some Ontario or Quebec dates in there, but don't quote me on that. I'll have to.
Well, this is a tour that's going to be happening in spring of next year, so it's pretty far off. They could be in the middle of a tour right now that is more the North American tour, maybe. Yeah, I just can't. I know I saw the this is entirely US.
It's just US. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So US Rivers of Nile tour. That's pretty dope. We talked about those guys and praised their album Where Owls Know My Name earlier this year, so that's
we did. What do you got?
What do I got? Well, I have news about...
Show it to the world.
Recently announced, American football has announced their third full-length record for next year. It comes out March 22nd through Polyvinyl. It's just another self-titled because that's their thing, I guess. And it's the follow-up to their returning record, their returning LP2 self-titled from 2016. So they put out the single Silhouettes either earlier this week, like earlier last week or something like that, or 2 weeks ago ish. But that's a nice 7-minute long single.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I guess on the album
aren't they like a punk emo band?
No, they're not like punk at all. They're like the originators of like the twinkly emo bullshit that is popular nowadays.
Okay. It's just weird that they would put out a 7-minute song then. That's really interesting.
Oh, it's not weird at all for them. Honestly.
I've never listened to them, so I don't know.
Yeah, they're all right. I wasn't a big fan of LP2, but from what I've heard so far of this LP3, I'm going to like it a lot more. They do have 3 songs on this new record that have guest vocals. One of them being Hayley Williams from Paramore. So that was really weird seeing that. So
hey, I'm a millennial. I know that name.
Yeah, so hopefully that album will be great as the personnel working out on it. And again, that's out March 22nd through Polyvinyl.
Nice.
There's bundles for vinyl and physical copies and merch and all that stuff up on Polyvinyl and American Football's websites.
Okay.
What do I have next? I have next is notable emo revival band, Midwest. I don't know if you want to call them Midwest emo, but they're kind of screamo-y. Band William Bonney has recently remastered and remastered their entire discography, like their entire Good Vibes EP. Jesus, my voice is dying on me. And their side of their 7-inch...
The table have turned.
Yeah, it has. But yeah, no, they're putting out a remaster of their Good Vibes EP and their side of the 7-inch split with Chicago's Droughts and their one-off single Dope Castle all onto one CD, cassette, and vinyl. That
Nice.
is going to be released March 8th of next year, which, like I said, quite a ways away. But that's just for the physical copies. All the digital stuff you can get instantly right now. Like, I think it's on Spotify, it's on Google.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy the digital album right now and get it. But yeah, it's all remastered by the drummer of the band, Mike Kenway. And if you haven't listened to it yet, I've given it a few spins already on Spotify and digitally and all that stuff, and it sounds so good. So
Yeah, you've been kind of you've been gushing.
Big we probably won't talk about the album on the podcast at all, just because it would just be annoying. I would spend 20-25 minutes interrupting Micah and saying about how he's wrong, about how this album's perfect. So
Yeah, you've been gushing so much I forgot what friction was like.
Yikes.
Just sliding on the sploosh.
So yeah, there's that. It was available on a 180 gram metallic gold LP that is now sold out. That was limited to what was it, 300? Yeah, 300. So then all they have left now is
Wow.
They made 700 of the 180 gram black and white split LP. So like I said, all that stuff's going to come out around March 8th. So William Bonney reissue remaster. It's great. Check
Nice.
that out if you're into that kind of music.
I will someday.
Yes, you will. I will make you someday. Another thing that we mentioned a couple episodes ago. I mentioned a couple episodes ago about how there was rumors of a new Law Dispute album. Well, that got announced a while ago, probably I want to say like at the beginning of December, like December 4th or something like that, around that time.
About.
Their new album called Panorama was announced. It's going to come out March 22nd via Epitaph. And they released the first two tracks on the album, Rose Quartz and Fulton Street 1, as a video on NPR. We'll put a link in the show notes and the description and all that stuff, where you can find all of these news tidbits, by the way, and watch this very trippy video they put out for Rose Quartz and Fulton Street 1.
You're supposed to promise nothing.
Yeah, well, I'm still hoping you'll put it in the description, so we might deliver less.
Well,
but other than that, that's all I really have for...
I have a few more. I guess two of the other smaller things are that for some reason Between the Buried and Me announced another Automata bundle.
Oh my god.
I feel like that's more Sumerians doing at this point.
It's 100%
I mean,
Sumerians
obviously
doing.
it is. Yeah. It's really frustrating. Like I think they kind of requested a double album so that they could just
Whore it out for the
market
next
all
2
these
years.
versions. Yeah. Hopefully this is it, because the thing that's frustrating is when Automata 2 came out, they released the two records together as a package. Just edit that out. Better edit it out.
But then this won't make sense.
But it was kind of lame because all it was like the two standalone records with their unique art. Except actually that one.
I mean, it wasn't lame.
Did have,
they had special variants.
The bundled one did have special variants.
Yeah.
That is, but
That's the whole
the
reason I got
sleeves
it.
they came in. Even though I think the sleeves they come in with this complete set are also, it's whatever. This has another variant, which is just kind of a lamer splatter, in my opinion. It's just like gold and black splatter.
It didn't look really interesting. It looked like a clear vinyl with like gold and black splatter. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited just because it comes with a turntable mat, instrumentals of all the songs, and then you also get the stems for the song Millions, which is pretty cool. And there's also an auto. I haven't gotten it yet. It's $60. I still haven't. I'm thinking about it. It won't ship until late January or early February.
It's part of my problem too, man.
Yeah. It comes with an autograph thank you note from the whole band though, which would be neat.
Man, all I know is I already bought that album twice. I already bought both albums twice. I don't need a third copy of the same albums, dude.
I mean, I have 2 versions of Automata 1. I think we both do, right?
Yeah, I have 2 versions of both.
And yeah, and then I have Automata 2, and then I have both on CD.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And then you and I both just purchased the Protest the Hero re-release of their first album, like the 10th anniversary remaster. Oh. They put out a special vinyl variant.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I was going to mention that too. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, the albumKezia, which is great. I'm super excited. I've had the remaster of that forever from their Bandcamp. I just haven't had a physical version of it.
I hate that pronunciation so much.
It's her name.
Yeah, well, it's wrong.
And it'll come with a book that has a lot of quotes from interviews about the making of the album, which is neat. You can either get that as a PDF or get a physical version. It'll just cost more. And if you buy any version of the re-release, you just get access to the live concert footage, right? Like, did you?
I don't know. I didn't get an email or anything about it. Yeah, I think
I got an email about it.
I think that was a special version of it or something. I know
that may have only come with the $60 version.
Yeah, because I got the $35 one, which is just the 2 LP.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm glad that they have a different artwork that's like kind of like the flowers kind of red, kind of blood soaked a little bit.
Yeah, the new art looks really cool.
Because, yeah, I've been really wanting to maybe get that flower as one of my next tattoos, but the silver and black didn't seem like it would fit well against the background of my skin tone.
Right.
So I'm glad that there's a new version that I could possibly use. And then, so my final 2 that are a little big. Friday was pretty big for singles. I don't care about either of them, but
well, look at you.
They're big deals. In Flames put out 2 new singles, which is meh, you know. And so for their 13th album called I the Mask, they put out 2 singles called I Am Above, which has a hilariously cringy music video.
Oh, no.
And a song called This Is, in parentheses, Our House. And that just got a lyric video. And that album will come out March 1st on Nuclear Blast Records. And the same day, another band that's really similar that's been disappointing for a long time, Demon Hunter, put out 2 singles.
Oh, yikes. How are those?
They are putting out a double album called War and Peace.
Oh, wow. Original.
Because I genuinely think that it's just that double albums are just making them more money.
Well, of course.
I think that that's all that's happening
right now. Of course. Dude, double albums means you can milk customers for twice as much money, man. I mean,
basically,
we saw that with the Between the Buried and Me Automata albums, dude. That could have been one album. Could have been one album, and it would have been normal Between the Buried and Me length. And instead, they split it into 2 half-an-hour sections. Like, it's purely for money.
To be fair,
money.
To be fair to Demon Hunter, both albums have 10 tracks. So,
yeah, well,
at least there's volume to it. And they put out a song from War. They put out a single from each album on Friday. One's called On My Side, which is a really disappointing kind of joke of a heavy song.
Yikes.
It's just the guitars do the same chug the whole way through, and it's just kind of uninspired. And then they put out the title track of Peace, which is actually pretty decent. I'm just disappointed with it because it's another ballad, and that kind of seems like all they do now.
Yeah, well, I guess, stick to your strengths.
Yeah, that's coming out on Solid State Records on also March or February. Wait. No, the In Flames and Demon Hunter both come out on March 1st. They come out on the same day.
Yeah, March 1st, yeah. Yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah. I looked up at my Astronoid, which is February 1st, so that confused me.
Okay, well.
And yeah, that's all of my news. Which do you want to get into Kero Bonito?
Yeah, sure. We can talk about Kero first. Okay.
Karen Burrito.
Karen Burrito.
That's legitimately what I almost typed in when I first looked it up.
Nice. Okay. So the first album that we are going to talk about today in our little reviews section is the album Time and Place by British experimental pop group Kero Bonito.
Basically Australian, though.
I hate you so much sometimes, dude. And this album came out October 1st of this year on Polyvinyl Records. It's their first release on Polyvinyl also. It was released with no prior announcement, and it includes...
Good.
It includes a song off of the EP that came before this, but...
Which one?
Only Acting. Only Acting came out on their Totep EP.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So...
It fits in really well.
So yeah, with that, Micah, what did you think of this Kero Bonito album?
I think so. I enjoyed it. From what you sounded like you were saying, you don't, right?
Oh, I never said that. I never said that.
Weird.
I just told you were in for a surprise.
I mean, yeah, we'll get to the elephant in the room eventually. So, but overall, I think that this is definitely a shining example of why the strategy of kind of quickly scrubbing through an album that you might listen to, just like, going to random songs and just like seeing what the general sound is, that's kind of a bad strategy, because you really have to commit. You have to do time commitment to really get this album.
Yeah, so
you have to hear it from the start and hear it how it progresses to really get it, Right.
Yeah, so like I said, they're like a really experimental pop group. Their genre on like, I don't know, Wikipedia is very accurate, but their genre on Wikipedia is described them as like dream pop, noise pop, indie rock.
Can you add Lynchian to it?
Can you add what?
Lynchian?
I don't know what that means.
David Lynch.
Oh.
Because holy shit.
Sure.
I'm going to talk about surreal.
Yeah. So
that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
With those markers on it, tell me what you think. Do you think that fits, or like?
Well, I don't know why you made me listen to the soundtrack of Eraserhead. At some points, I feel like I could just put that on and it'd be the same.
So what makes you think of that though?
Yeah, well, okay, I love the album. I actually really like, especially. So I felt meh towards the admittedly well-crafted bubblegum kind of pop feeling that it has a lot of the time, because it's really upbeat. She has a really high register kind of breathy vocal style that's great.
Yeah, songs like Time Today and Fly Away kind of.
Mm-hmm. And the album starts out like the first 3 songs are actually pretty good punk rock that are really punchy until you get to Only Acting. And the reason I said Only Acting really fits in well, even though it was on a completely different piece of music earlier, is that towards the middle and the end, it just starts to become terrifying for some reason.
Yeah, it has like a little like communication breakdown kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's a point where it like starts to skip and then just cuts out and then comes back in on the skip.
Yeah, it just really dissolves into what you don't think is music, and you're like, what is this?
This kind of becomes a nightmare. But then the album continues just fine for some reason. Like in the middle of the album is a lot more focused on synth heavy instrumentals and her voice for the most part, which is neat.
Yeah.
I really like the song Dump.
Yeah.
Especially since it had a really cool like bass boosted like kick drum, which was neat. And the main melody kind of felt like a kid's rhyme. I couldn't place what one it was though. I was really racking my brain on that. And Sometimes was a really neat song in that it kind of felt like an Irish like pub song almost.
Right.
That's the one that just has like the group singing with like the acoustic guitar up front.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I like that they knew enough to make the acoustic guitar and vocals be up front and kind of push the synth back. So I like that it's clear that they know how to construct the songs. That they're not so dead set on the synth and all that.
Yeah, so speaking of how the songs like sound as a general now, because you mentioned like the first three tracks have a very punk sound, like very punky, heavy-ish sound to them. What did you think of the transition away from that as the album went on? Because I noticed when I listened to this album, it started off with outside, like you said, outside Time Today and Only Acting being very drivey and in your face and all and punky and just really punchy sounds, and then as it went on it kind of got softer and quieter. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I personally enjoyed that. What did you have any opinion on that at all?
Yeah, all my favorite songs are towards the end, and so
Hey,
it's kind of funny that after Only Acting is when it starts to diverge like that, and the song after Only Acting is called Fly Away.
Yeah. Well,
That's probably
Fly
not
Away.
intentional on their part.
Yeah.
Fly away from reason.
No, it's not fly away, just fly away.
And I really enjoyed songs like Sometimes, which was just a kind of a nostalgic song, and I like that they utilized the male members of the band for their vocals. And I think Dear Future Self was definitely my favorite song. Yeah, and Dear Future Self just had a really cool moment towards the end where she harmonized with some male vocalist, I guess. I guess I can't really say who it is at this point.
Yeah,
I'm always wrong. But so the reason I love Dear Future Self is kind of my little prog boy peeking out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounded gross. And just because it's less than a 3-minute long song, but it kind of feels epic because it starts out really quiet, and all they do as they progress the song is just add more layers and make the melody it started out with just feel more grandiose. They never really change the main melody too much,
Yeah.
And eventually you end up with like the whole arranged string section, and there's also harpsichord, and it kind of feels like sort of a Christmassy song almost. Like it felt like you were in a wonderland of sorts, but I just imagined snow being everywhere.
I feel that. Yeah.
And
So, you might have said it already what your standout tracks were, but like,
oh man,
was there anything on this album that made you like that's like specifically jumped out at you?
What is it, like a jump scare?
Like... No. Something that maybe like caught you off guard, and you were like, "Oh, well, okay," and then like you ended up liking it, or any deep cuts, any deep dives into this?
Well, probably just the whole album as a whole. Just because it's not necessarily something I would listen to on my own ever, like this kind of genre.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I like thought about giving it to you, because I was like, well, I kind of like Kero Bonito. I wonder if I could get Micah to listen to Kero Bonito.
Yeah. And it
sounds like a successful mission right there.
Yeah,
so.
It's just weird because it's such a tonally dissonant album, but it's also cohesive at the same time. Like, because they own that dissonance, especially like the closing track. Man, that's not
that
okay.
Closing track goes on for
and it's only
while.
3.5 minutes, less than, and it feels so threatening. Because it starts out as a normal song, but then it just descends into like Silent Hill hell towards the end.
I think that's the song. Which song were you talking about?
I'm talking about Rest Stop, the one because it ends with those like horrific sounds.
Dude, okay, real talk. I think Rest Stop might have been the song where I was like, huh, she kind of sounds like the Turrets when they sing from Portal.
Yeah, I could see that.
like from the ending credits song, what is that, Still Alive or something like that? Her voice reminded me a lot of that voice, like the GLaDOS singing voice. And that's I don't know, that might be a niche reference.
Yeah, it kind of, I don't know if I would count it as a negative.
Sense,
I did maybe, I wasn't tired of it, but I enjoyed
it.
I love the voice and everything, but I just started to notice that her preferred singing style is taking a very brief pause between every word. Like she's just kind of saying each word, and then eventually she'll get to a melody where it's kind of more of a breathy, like flowing vocal style. And that's not a negative. I don't know, maybe if there's a little more, just change it up a little bit more in that sense. But
Sure.
Yeah, holy shit, rest stop. God. Because on top of it, just descending into madness, the end of it, just all sound cuts out except for her in only your right ear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's when, again, she's doing the thing where she just keeps on saying like only one word, like to progress the bar for that lyric. And it cuts like midway through a statement. You don't know what the ending was supposed to be. And that's what I mean. Like, it felt threatening. And that's just the end of the album.
Yeah. So overall, I guess final thoughts, final statements here.
This is it's an album with balls, so it gets a 10 out of 10 in my book.
An album with balls. I'm assuming that means it takes risks and they pay off.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Cool. Yeah, I enjoyed the album too, so I'm glad I was able to get somebody else to listen to it with zero context whatsoever and have them actually enjoy it.
Right.
That's good.
I like how you do it purposely to like punk them a little bit too.
Oh yeah.
But,
I mean, I told you it was a pop album, but I was just like, that's all I'm gonna tell you.
This probably would have fit better next to Tommy's album, actually. In terms of just being very contemporary and surreal, you know? Maybe. But no, I think, and yeah, I had the moment of like, oh, I want to recommend this to my friend Matt, maybe. But again, you have to make them listen to the whole thing. It would be unfair to make them just listen to only acting or something.
I couldn't just throw you Make Believe and be like, oh, this is what the whole album sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's move on to the second album of the episode that I will let Micah continue talking. And
all right, and the second album we're going to talk about on this episode is one that's more for both of us, not really a recommendation on my part, is the album called The Skeptic from Tilian Pearson, the singer for Dance Gavin Dance, on his solo project. This is his third full-length album, and it was released on September 28th, 2018 on Rise Records. And I'll let you take the lead on this, but I also have thoughts on it because I loved it too. This album's more for both of us.
Yeah, sure.
Go.
So this is the first Tilian album that I have fully listened to. I never really listened to any of his older stuff. I have listened to Dance Gavin Dance unreasonably, an unreasonable amount of Dance Gavin Dance, and it really took me until earlier this week of listening to it to fully appreciate this album, because up until I started listening to it for this episode, I kept comparing it to how he sounds in Dance Gavin Dance and in his other band that he used to be in called Tides of Man.
This is a different beast. Yeah.
Yeah, I kept comparing it to that, and it made me not enjoy the album because I was like, well, this doesn't sound, like this at all. I was being really stupid about it. But once you actually sit down and realize, okay, this is its own entity. This is its own, like you said, its own beast. And you just tell yourself, this is a pop album. It is going to sound like pop.
Yep.
It gets really good.
That's how I feel about his previous stuff too. This is a lot better than his first two full-length albums for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also the same. Like, those are just straight pop albums. They're a little more, I hate to say it, they're a little more forgettable. Maybe I need to look at them again. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember one song I heard of his solo stuff, and I think it featured Johnny Craig, or it might have been the other way around. But that song was okay, and I would have listened to that song a lot. I would have listened to an album of that song. But this album is phenomenal. It starts off, I will say, it starts off. The first song is kind of weak. I'm not a big fan of Made of Plastic. I don't like the chorus in it. I think the chorus is a little too cheesy.
Do you mean the I've got the microphone thing?
Yeah, the I've got the microphone thing. Like, just the lyrics he picks every now and then are kind of cheesy, but I
think that part's cheesy, but the actual moments that, like, there's a weird effect on his voice for the parts where he's saying, like, Made of Plastic, I think that's cool. Like, I like that melody, but yeah, the I've got the microphone part,
yeah. But then, as the album goes on, it just gets better and better, in my opinion, all the way up until about the halfway point, when it hits Hold On, which is one of the most devastating songs that I have ever listened to.
Everyone go watch that video.
Oh God, yeah.
Do it now.
If you haven't heard this song, I highly recommend the first time you hear it to be through the music video. And if it doesn't make you cry, then I don't know, maybe you just have no emotions, and that's fine. Just don't be near.
I mean, I don't, but I cried.
But yeah, from Hold On, after that point, I think the album is just perfect, 10 out of 10. Like, the only thing stopping this album from like being in my top 5 albums of the year at this point is probably Made of Plastic, and the more forgettable song, Let Her Go.
That was one. I have like 3 songs that I think are probably they're not bad songs, they're just a little more forgettable, which sucks. But,
it's not a bad song. It still flows really well, and it fits in that second half of the album really well. I forget about it. I think it's because it's wrapped around by Blame It on Rock and Roll, which is a banger. I don't care what you say. And then I
just don't like Matchbox 20, and that's just it's a weird style of pop rock and roll specifically that just never jived with me, you know.
That's fine.
But no, I think it's a cool song. It's just I don't know that it.
I think it has
the chorus is what doesn't jive with me.
What, Blame It on Rock and Roll?
Yeah, I love everything else.
Man, whatever. I was talking about Let Her Go, though. I just think that song is in a very unfortunate spot because it is followed by, in what my opinion is the best song on the album, Drunken Conversations. Mm-hmm. Just everything. Tilian's voice, if you've heard him in Dance Gavin Dance or Tides of Man before they became instrumental, you're fully aware he has a very pop-sounding vocal melody style, and just his singing is very poppy, yet he's in these post-hardcore bands and these heavier bands. You don't really get a grasp of how his voice is actually like used well until you listen to his solo stuff, in my opinion, because his voice really shines on this album. It fits so much better with this kind of music than it does in Dance Gavin Dance. And I have no problem saying that, because that's a huge criticism of Dance Gavin Dance currently, is like, they've got all these heavy songs and all this stuff, and then they've got the pop vocalist, and everyone always gives them crap for that. But I mean, out of context, sure, but Tilian is actually an amazing vocalist and an amazing performer, amazing songwriter, and he really shows it on this album.
It says an insane amount that you're saying that he's better here than he is in Dance Gavin Dance.
Well,
like vocally, well, not just that he fits better here, even because I think that says a lot. Because I personally think that he excels an insane amount in Dance Gavin Dance. You know? Yeah,
I mean, for me with Dance Gavin Dance, though, I've always been a Kurt Travis era Dance Gavin Dance fan more than Tilian era.
I guess I started on Tilian.
Yeah, and I'm not saying his performance in DGD is bad. It's just this music that he's making in his solo project seems to be more where his voice fits. Like, that is his kind of music. It's his music for his voice. So that's my opinion on that. It's a very like I said, it's a very poppy album. It's really rocky. There is a song on there called Handsome Garbage that
I think that one sounds the most Dance Gavin Dance.
Oh, dude, that one could pass. If you didn't tell me this was this was Tilian's solo thing, if you were to tell me like, hey, check out this song that Tilian sings on, I would be like, yo, did he come back with Tides of Man? Because it sounds like a Tides of Man song, like straight up.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It has such a proggy sound to it up until like the halfway point where it goes back into like a normal dance beat.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I mean in terms of how I guess it sounds Dance Gavin Dancing, because it has a moment where it flips and goes into like a really groovy section the way Dance Gavin Dance always does. You know?
Yeah.
At some point, there's always that moment where it quiets down before it like explodes into a groove.
Yeah. No, just the first half of that song specifically, though, like I hear Tides of Man in it 100%, and it doesn't surprise me because back when Tilian was in Tides of Man, I feel like he was a majority of the musical influence and writing in that band anyway. So it's kind of like he just took that writing style and turned it into his own stuff. And I have no problem with that because it sounds fantastic. Overall though, I don't know. This album is just, it's catchy chorus after catchy chorus, which is perfect for pop music. Like, you want the songs to be stuck in your head.
It's not the best song, but Cocky probably still has the most catchy chorus.
Oh yeah,
I feel
if not Cocky, then definitely Gone, because
Gone is.
I know you gush about that chorus all the time, but
oh boy,
honestly, I can't.
The way he just keeps ascending,
huh?
The way he just keeps ascending with each like repetition of Gone in that chorus,
right?
I love it.
Yeah, no, yeah. This album's just catchy chorus after catchy chorus. The songs are full of good pacing. They don't. None of them.
Really well.
None of them really like jump too quickly in sound. None of them really jump the gun on anything. That sounds kind of weird to say that and like not have any explanation to back that up. But if you know what I mean, you'll feel it. You feel it.
Yeah, like there's just no songs that just completely drop the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Every song is good in its own right and deserves a spot on this album.
And that's what I mean. Like the whole album, I kind of said it over you because I'm an asshole. I said it earlier. It's like the whole album just is honestly just a big piece of candy. Yeah. It's just a huge treat.
Yeah,
all the way through, song after song. I will say I got a little tired of the lyrics focusing on like failed relationships.
Yeah,
it's kind of eye-rolly. I know it's
pop.
Exactly.
But it was like, I was about to say sure, but that's pop music nowadays.
There's just a point where you're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Go back, like do more stuff like Hold On, where it's like really personal and like gonna make me cry.
God, that song. So good.
That is absolutely the most inspired song lyrically.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
And like I said, is the most emotionally devastating. Absolutely destroy you.
Makes me think of my dog.
No, don't make me think of Candy. Come on, Micah.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Oh man.
And Ghost Town is a fantastic closing song. Like it feels like at the end. So
dude, that's another thing. Okay, we always talk about reset the counter on this because we always talk about how albums close.
Between the Bear to Me.
Fuck. We broke that at the beginning of the news.
That is true.
Can't go one episode. No, this album does have a very strong ending, and that has been like I said, we talked about that in almost every album up to this point is how it closes. This album does not let up at the end. It keeps going, and it's a good conclusion just with how the pacing of the song Ghost Town goes.
I know I'm having kind of earlier when I was thinking about the album, I had trouble trying to formulate how I would describe how that song feels. It has a really specific mood to it. That's kind of a specific genre.
It's
really cool.
It's very dancey, and it's very it's like an uplifting dance pop thing almost.
Yeah, but it's also really somber.
Yeah, somber.
It's strange.
Like melancholy. It's like melancholy almost.
But it's upbeat at the same time.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's hard to explain. But it is a very solid closer, and I don't know. It's just it works. It's just it just works. Todd Howard.
And I definitely gotta. Okay.
It just works.
And can't be said. I honestly, compared to his previous artworks, I completely adore this album art. Just the contrast between the red plain over snow, and then there's a big pyramid and a mountain behind it.
Yeah, this album art is great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Looks amazing.
It pops.
Okay, so that's it for this episode. Oh man.
Have you been listening to anything new lately?
Oh, we're actually ending it there. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, I at least want to get my final thoughts in. No, great album.
Oh yeah, what are your final thoughts?
Great album. If you're a fan of him and Dance Gavin Dance, if you're a fan of Tilian and Dance Gavin Dance, I highly recommend you go give this album a try. Just kind of blank in your mind that he's not in Dance Gavin Dance in this album though, and you'll probably enjoy it a lot more. I know that's what it took me to realize before I started enjoying it, so maybe that'll help some other people enjoy this album, because it really deserves all the praise it will get, is getting, has gotten, whatever.
I think it deserves more, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I heard that much about it.
It's definitely going to be in my top 10 list for albums of the year, that's for sure.
Ooh, damn.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
So yeah, there's my final thoughts. As for what I've been listening to, you know what I've been listening to, man. I've been bumping that William Bonney reissue every day since they announced it. Since I woke up at 6 a.m. and pre-ordered the vinyl, I have been listening to nothing but William Bonney for the past 7 days. And I have no shame.
Well, on that at least.
Yeah, well. Shut up. It's what we're talking about.
Shut up. We're talking about the music.
What about you? What about you, huh?
Don't bring up my anime.
What about you? Shut up. What about you?
Lindsay's going to walk in. I've been listening to 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence by Dream Theater a lot.
Good choice. Good choice. At least it's a
no
good choice.
particular reason.
At least it's a good album.
All.
You could have said they're self-titled.
Yeah. Hey, I like 5 songs.
I know you do.
Specifically 5 songs from that.
Yeah, well.
I still...
The only reason I didn't say The Astonishing is because I didn't want to start a thing.
Yeah, I still kind of don't like The Great Debate as a song, but it sucks to just revisit. It's out of because you're just like, okay,
it's out of its time. It's out of its relevancy, in my opinion.
It just takes forever to get through, also because it's just so ambient.
Yeah, well, I mean that album came out in like what 06 or 04, 06 or something like that because it was during the Bush presidency. But yeah, that whole song is about stem cell research and the debate with George W. Bush and shit like that. So it's just past its prime. Honestly, I can understand it being kind of weird to come back to.
It's not so much the content. It's just I kind of get tired. Well, it's not the content of it. It's just it sucks that you have to like slog through the interview snippets.
Oh yeah, fair
that
enough.
play from like the real people.
That's what I mean. That context is like not relevant as much anymore.
Nope. Just like me.
Hell yeah.
Well,
just like this podcast. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Maybe.